I hope you're ready to make some interesting art. We're gonna make some God's eyes today. They're called a God's eye. They're really interesting. They're made of two simple materials. Chopsticks, or like we'll be using chopsticks, but you can use anything stick-shaped. The more smooth they are, the straighter they are, the easier it'll be for our project. But if you are very inspired and want to find a huge stick that's like from your yard or something, that would work too. But we're just going to be using this size today, just because it's a little bit easier. You also need some yarn. This yarn is some very interesting stuff. I like this fuzzy yarn, but the yarn that you might be using might be kind of plain, might be a different color, or it could be completely crazy and 50 different colors. But I chose these three because I like the way they look together. They're kind of weird, and I like it that way. So that's the only materials we'll need. But I'll show you what they're gonna look like. This is one of the ones that I made. You see, I told you I like the fuzzy yarn, and it's pretty interesting. This one got a little bit sloppy because of this, but I don't know. I think this turned out really great. And then I left a little room for me to hang it from a nail on the wall or something else. You can hang it from whatever you want. But I have some more examples. There's this one, which I like. Here's another one. This is the first one that I made. Very, very cool. A lot brighter colors, but still I use the fuzzy yarn. This one, it looks a little bit silly on camera, but I think this one is one of my favorites. I like this bit in the middle, and it's actually the same yarn as I might be using today in our example of me making it. And then I made it a huge one. Look at this thing compared to the other ones in size. Again, I used the fuzzy yarn, but I just wanted to show you that you could use any kind of stick. These are chopsticks, but this is more like a dowel. This thing is huge compared to the other ones. But I'll set these aside for now, and let's just get started on making these ourselves. So, first things first, you notice that the sticks on my example were like this. Kind of like in an X shape or a plus shape, but we'll set those aside for now. Next things next, we're gonna choose our yarn that we wanna start with. I think I wanna start with this yarn. I have the most of it, so I think that it will be pretty cool if I start with it. And I wanna save this one for last just because I don't have very much, or sometime in between. I chose 3 different ones, but you can use as many different kinds of yarn as you want. In some of my examples, I think I used 4 different kinds of yarn in this one, but I'll just be using 3 today. You could do the whole thing in one color of yarn if you really like the one color, but the choice is yours, so that's really fun. So I'm just gonna get started. We're gonna leave our string attached to the ball of yarn. I'm just gonna kind of let it sit right here. It might be easier to let this fall on the ground actually and just kind of watch it because we're gonna need a little bit of space. So because I have my camera filming this, I'm gonna try to keep it all within view. But the first thing we're gonna do, just take the very end of our yarn, just wrap it around the middle of our plus shape. And the furry yarn kind of tends to get stuck on itself, but I think that's part of the fun. And like most things in art and in life, this project starts out really difficult and gets easier as you go on. When I watched my teacher show me how to do this, I think I had to watch her 60 times, or actually probably 160 times, just because it just took me a little bit, but when I got the hang of it, I was so excited. I made 4 of them just to show you guys. But in the time I was talking, I wrapped it around probably 5 or 6 times. And then I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna go the other way. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, especially if you don't have a whole lot of yarn like I do, but 4 times like that should be enough. So we have our plus shape. We have it kind of secured. I don't need to hold on to the middle anymore now that I have all that yarn just kind of loosely sitting there. This is the part that I got tripped up on. This is the part that I thought was pretty complicated, and I had to watch my teacher do a bunch. It's gonna look really simple, but you're gonna try it with your own hands and you're gonna think, what? So in this case, I'll show you a fun trick that I said in my head a bunch of times as I was doing this. So I kind of imagined a little monkey. My fingers are like a little monkey, and they swing around and then underneath again, and then they turn and they swing around and then underneath again, and then I keep on spinning it, and the monkey just goes around onto the next one, around, and you know, your sticks might go kind of more like a multiplication symbol, but you can just turn them back. But anyway, back to the monkey. He swings. Oh, I think I went around twice on that one. Nope. Swing, swing, swing. Now get really familiar with that, because that's how you make the entire thing. It's a really simple but really fun and rewarding activity. And you can't see it yet because I chose the fuzzy yarn, but there's a cool pattern going to be in here in the end. So anyway, back to that monkey swinging. I'm going to hold back in the middle here. I'm going to swing it, and I'm going to turn with my other hand. And then I'm going to swing it, turn with my other hand. Swing it, and then turn. It's kind of complicated, and I'll do it slower so you all can see it, maybe a little closer. So I'm holding it in the middle here. I'm going to take my yarn, swing it around, then move this hand, grab it again, and then swing around like so, and just keep on repeating that. I'll do it a little slower, maybe at a different angle too. So now I will go around, switch, then around again, switch. So some of you might have gotten the hang of it by now. I know I sure didn't by that point, but it just takes a little bit of time. And don't worry if you end up forgetting to go around one, or if your monkey swings too far, too fast, or does two loops. Just as long as you are enjoying it, and it kind of looks like with the example, then I think you're doing it right. So you'll see that I'm kind of pulling this yarn. Every once in a while you might have to roll out some slack for yourself, but I'm just gonna keep on going. After a while, you get pretty fast at it, and you don't even really have to think about the monkey anymore. But I got to that point, and I don't know, you all may not have gotten to that point yet, but don't worry. I'll show you the swing again, go around. Maybe that's a little bit more confusing from that angle, but maybe it helped. So do it from here, around this, rotate, around this. Kind of like a lasso. I guess you could think of a lasso. Maybe if you are watching this video, you can think about a little method in your head like that is your own. I thought of a monkey swinging from a vine, but a lasso also makes sense. And see, eventually it's getting a little easier now that you're putting more and more yarn on the chopsticks, because they're holding it's holding the chopsticks together. They're not moving quite as much, and you might be having more fun at this point now that you kind of understand how to do it. If you don't still, don't worry. It's not going to be something you get right away. Remember what I said. I had to watch my teacher do it probably 165 times. And I mean, it's not a hard thing, but sometimes the easiest things are the things that trip us up. And don't beat yourself up about that, just because, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to learn some things. But hopefully you guys have been seeing that. Maybe my camera's a little bit different this time. But I'm just keeping on doing it. Keeping swinging the monkey here. I'll do a couple more go-arounds, and then I'll show you how to switch your yarn color. I still have plenty of this guy left, so don't worry. You definitely do not have to use all of your yarn. I think that's good. I think that's where I'm going to call it. So, bring in something you can use to cut your yarn. For example, a scissors. Give yourself some room to tie a knot. Put this yarn aside for now. I think we're going to switch to this color of yarn. Really pretty. I like it. Put this aside for now because we'll need it again. Again, well, just like this one, leave yourself some room to tie. find your yarn that is the least fuzzy, because it's really hard to tie the fuzzy yarn, I have learned. But then you just have to tie a knot around this yarn, your yarn that you have been using. Tie a knot with the yarn that you want to be using. If you don't know how to tie a knot, it's not super difficult, but it can, kind of like the swinging monkey, it can take a little while sometimes. So I'll show you here with the fuzzy yarn. Make an O shape or a circular shape. You can do it around your finger if you need. Then where these two pieces of yarn intersect, pinch it, and then the little tail you have here, go ahead and wrap it up. See, that's so difficult with the fuzzy yarn, which is one of the fuzzy yarn's downfalls. Make sure it's nice and tight. If it falls apart, that's okay. And then this part's pretty important, but cut off the extra stuff because it might get in the way and mess up the pattern. But now, as you can see, it's kind of like one string of yarn, so now you just kind of continue. So be kind of careful with the new knot. Make sure you aren't pulling quite as tight when you link the first swinging monkey of the new yarn color. But after that, you can go pretty tight. The tighter you are, or the tighter that you hold the yarn, the faster your chopsticks won't move. I should have talked about this a little bit earlier, but if you're doing like this, going around, it's gonna leave a bunch of gaps in your God's eye. So what I try to do is pull it a little tight and line it up with the last bit of string, and then do that on this one and just keep going. You'll be amazed at what you can make here. You can start to see this kind of diamond pattern going on. And when I was looking up some other instructions on how to do this, because it was really hard for me to get it at first, I saw some people do it with maybe 6 chopsticks, and it looked super interesting. It kind of looked like a medieval ship wheel, but that's something for another day. As you can see, I'm doing the same thing. If you need me to go slower again, I'll do it here. I have this yarn. I'm gonna go underneath this stick, around, switch this hand, go underneath and around, pull it this way, underneath, around, and you're just gonna do that all the way up until you're done. So I'm gonna go a little bit faster here, just so I can put some work in on this. You'll also find it's kind of difficult to talk and do this at the same time, because you're kind of focused on that swinging monkey, like I said. And if you've done this before and you're super confident in your abilities to do this weaving technique, then don't make others who struggle feel bad about it, because at one point you had to learn, and maybe it's these people's turn. So I'm just I'm doing a little bit faster because I really enjoy this, but I'll go a little slower so you all can see. And if the way that you find that you can make the most and be the most efficient is different than mine, do not worry, because my way is probably different than everyone else's way. My way is a little bit different than my professor who showed me how to make these, just in the fact that I change my hand position every single time. But if you have a way that's completely different than the way I'm showing you, good for you for figuring out something new. See, this ball of yarn is kind of sitting next to my hand, so I'm going to pull it out, set it over here. But look how much progress we're getting done. I think it might be time to switch our yarn color again. So I'm going to pull this out, get the scissors, Sometimes it's hard to cut yarn with regular scissors. Roll this, set it aside. I think I want to do a little bit. I want to use up the rest of this. It's not going to be for very long, but I am going to use this opportunity to show you how to fix your mistake. If you need to go back a couple, all you do is work backwards. You can just undo your work, and you could do that all the way. You could take the whole thing apart and start over if you really wanted to, because they don't take super long once you get the hang of it. I'm gonna do what I did before. I'm going to make a knot around this other yarn. So I made a loop, and I put what's left through and pull it tight like that. And then this time I'm gonna try to do it with the fuzzy yarn without struggling as much. The fuzzy yarn just has a lot of things that get tangled, and sometimes it's not very fun. But if you just kind of work with it, there you go. See, it's kind of a jumbled up mess now. But I'm gonna cut the excess here and here. Don't cut it too close. Don't cut the excess off too close, because sometimes then your knot pulls all the way through and then it's not. Then you have to redo it, which is no fun. But so I'm just gonna be careful not to pull super tight on this first loop of my new yarn color. But I'm gonna keep on going. The monkey technique does not change. You do it the entire time. There is a bunch of other ways to do it, but for those of you who don't know how to do it, then just worry about mastering the simple stuff. And if you really want to learn how to do the more complicated stuff, still use the simple stuff, because it's simple and it works for a reason. All right, look, I'm already done with this yarn. I'm already done. But it's gonna be really cool because it made a new little pattern. I think I'm gonna go back to this yarn, because look, it was green and now it's kind of turning into a blue. My teacher had some very interesting yarn. You may find that the yarn you have at home is all one color. It's all just white, or it's all just brown or something. Don't worry about that, because as long as you're making something that you like, that you enjoy, then it's worth it. All right, I'm gonna try my best to not pull that knot out, because it might be, oh, it's starting. It's okay, I'll just persevere. So now it goes from this interesting green color to this purple, then to this blue. And look how pretty that's starting to become. You can see kind of why it's called a God's eye. It looks kind of like an eyeball, where this is your pupil and this is the rest of their eye. I think that's called an iris. I don't know, I'm not an optometrist. I'm not even an art teacher yet. But I do know how to make a God's eye. So you can reference me on that. I am a trusted source on making God's eye. I'm gonna continue. I don't think I'm gonna go too much further. I think that I'm gonna go around a few more times, just until it feels right to stop. And then I'll show you the final step on how to tie it off. Let's see, that feels about right. I think I like where this is going. So I'm gonna give myself some slack, some excess yarn. I'm just gonna cut it, put my yarn ball aside, because I could use this to make another one. But then, remember those knots we made before? So we're gonna do a couple knots. I'm gonna go around this a few times just to kind of confirm that's the stick that I'm ending on. And then I'm going to go out here. I'm gonna make a knot. Make a loop, oh, it came apart. That's no big deal. Loop, put the tail through the loop. And then this is the part that's kind of tricky. The loop that's in your knot, put the stick inside the loop and then pull it tight. If you guys didn't catch that, don't worry, because you have to do it 3 or 4 times. I think I'm just gonna do mine twice, because I made that knot pretty tight. But there's my knot. I'm gonna put it around the stick, then I'm gonna pull my tail. You can see the knot. Boom. Nice and tight. So now I can hold it from that point or hang it, but we need something to hang it from. So one more loop, one more knot. But this time, we're going to do something a little different. If you have a hook or a paper clip at home, you could also just put a knot around the paper clip. But if you don't, like me, I do not have a paper clip, you can do a knot here, and then what's super kind of tricky, I recommend using a paper clip. Make a knot inside the knot, which is not going well for me. My fingers are a bit too big and this yarn is a bit too small. So the knot inside the knot, and then there you go. You could hang it from this point right here, and there's your God's eye. You can always cut off this little excess tail, and I think I will because I don't like the look of it. And then there you go. You can hang this from the wall. You can look on the other side. The other side might be a little bit more clean, but here you go. Look at that awesome pattern. Awesome. How cool diamond shape it is. Look at the colors. But I'm glad and I'm excited to see what kind of God's eye you all make. And I hope you feel as inspired to make these as I did, because let me tell you, this was a whole lot of fun. So much so that I made now 5 of them. And I think I'm definitely going to make some more in the future. I'll save these and I'll maybe make another one. But I'm glad that you guys came so far with me and made a whole God's eye. This is a great gift. It's a great thing to hang up in your room. It's a great thing to look at if you're bored. But yeah, I'm very glad that you all got it. Like I said, do not worry if it's hard, because it was hard for me too, like most things. But there you go. That's how you make it.